Welcome to the 5% Club with your hosts Maria Mejia and David Pataki as they dig deep into what it takes to start, grow, and take your business to new levels. They do this by demystifying common mistakes, roadblocks, and pitfalls by handing you strategies, tips, and hacks. Get your pen and paper ready because here they are.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the 5% Club. You were supposed to follow me there. But
okay. 5% Club. Oh, I'm
Well, I thought we were like in unison.
I'm a little slow today.
There.
I'm so sorry, Maria.
Anyways, as my co-host has said, my name is Maria Mejia. I am your imported accountant.
Yes, and I'm the Panastic business coach. Yeah, I will tend to throw the odd bad joke there, so that's why I got that moniker. So hopefully I'll live up to that today.
Well, if you work with David long enough, you'll truly see why he's called the Panastic business coach.
Yes, it could be painful for some people. My kids, of course, hate my jokes. When they were younger, of course, they loved them. I had awesome jokes back in the day. But as soon as that teen became the end of their age, everything changes.
I believe it. I believe it.
So what are we going to talk about today, Maria? What do you think?
So today I was kind of throwing it around in my mind. I thought maybe we should kind of focus on how can we create and understand who and what our target market is. Is that vague enough for you?
Vague enough? I don't know. But I think that's a great way to start off the year. You know, we talked about setting your goals for this year. And before that, we were talking about, reviewing what last year looked like and refining or even just figure out your target market for the first time is a great way to start off a year.
Or any time. Somebody could be listening and they just started their business, not at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely. That's why I have Maria here beside me. She is sharp, very sharp. Yeah, no, clearly this is something that you should be doing. You should do at the very beginning of the business development stage. If you're starting up, you should definitely be figuring out what your target market is from the get-go. But a lot of people, they don't really worry about that so much. They worry about getting the business out there, mm-hmm. and then they can look at refining their their target market.
Yeah, I know. Like when I first started my first business, when anybody asked me like, "Who's your ideal client? Who's your target market?" I'm like, "Well, anybody who's breathing, I want money from because I can give them service of some kind." That's not really the way you should be going with business.
But funny you should say that. Not funny you should say that, but you know what? It's interesting how there are a lot of people that is what they say. So who's your target market? Anyone who's walking or anyone who has a car. If you're an insurance broker, anyone that owns a vehicle is a potential client of mine. True, it's a potential client of yours, but is it your target market? So we're going to just go through a little bit of an exercise here about what a target market is all about. So Maria, why don't you explain to us what a target market is?
So a target market is a group of potential customers that you have identified as your ideal customers to sell your products or your services to. So this isn't just anybody with a pulse. These are people who you have specifically identified. They have like 2 to 3 attributes that define them and separate them from the whole herd, and that can be done through either their demographics, the geographics, as well as maybe the behavioral aspects of them.
Yeah, the psychology of them, behavioral for sure, and the better you know,
the know you better.
The know you whatever. Okay, anyways, the more you know, the better is what I'm trying to say. And then you want to make sure that you enjoy working with them. Well, what's interesting about that is you'll find that the people you enjoy the most should be that you deal with, whether it's a product or a service, that should be a key factor in narrowing down what your target market is Because a lot of the times, the ones that take up a lot of your time, the ones that sort of are energy zapping type clients, those are ones that aren't typically don't fit into your target market.
Yeah, so something that I had when I was figuring out who my ideal clients was when I first started business is, okay, I'm a professional service provider and I work for other professionals. Well, what professional industries do I want to be working closely with? Which ones do I find interesting? So for me, I don't find lawyers too interesting. So in that first business, I was like, I'll stay away from those lawyers, those real estate people that do a bunch of legalese type things. And I was more with the service-based businesses. So, lawn maintenance, physical labor jobs and things like that. So figure out who you like working with. What are their general attributes? What are their businesses like if you provide a service to them? Or if you have a product, like what do they normally purchase? And do you like making or selling those types of things?
Right, and the reason why it's so important to know your target market inside and out, there are a number of reasons. And one is that you get to figure out, you're able to identify what their pain point is or what the problem is that they want solved by you. And unless you figure out, because a problem, like for a mortgage broker, for example, there are a number of different target markets for a mortgage broker. There are first-time mortgage homeowners, home buyers. There are refinancing. There could be home equity loans. There could be buying an investment property. So there's 4 distinct, different target markets, and they have different pain points or different issues or problems that they want solved from the mortgage broker, right? And then you can also create a message that speaks directly to that market. As we talked about before, one message does not speak to everyone, right? And make sure that you can also make sure that you have the right solutions for that target market. If you are the landscaper that has we always go back to the landscape or the lawn maintenance person. If you have equipment that is specifically for hedges and taller trees and hilly yards and so on, then you don't want to be going after the ones that have a yard that's 10 feet by 10 feet, because that's not, your equipment doesn't work with that type of solution or problem for that person, right? But then you also know that where to target your marketing efforts, because you know where they're going, where they're visiting, what types of magazines they're reading, or what clubs that they're in, what sports they're involved in. You also can be able to figure out your pricing. Again, knowing who your target market is can help you make sure that you're pricing your product or service properly. And the key to all this is then you'll be able to convert better and generate higher revenue.
Yeah, so if you've ever tried to run a Facebook ad or a Google ad, they kind of ask you those similar questions. Like, okay, well, who are you trying to, advertise to? What are some of the keywords that they're looking at or searching for? How much are you wanting to spend? Have those thoughts in mind as you're creating kind of this icon of who your ideal client is. Like Dave said, know what makes them stay up at night that they're just thinking over and over and over again. And, what is the one thing, what's that one solution that you can give them that's very unique and will help them resolve that issue, either faster or much more better than somebody else.
Right. And so to help you refine your target market, or we'll just give you a couple things to think about for the demographic side of things. What are some of the things we could be thinking about, Maria?
So we could be thinking about, what is their age range? Because different industries work with different age range of people. So if you're, that mortgage person looking to target, first-time home buyers, you want that 20 to 30 year-old age range. Whereas if you're looking for people to refinance their mortgages, maybe, the 30, 40, 50-year-old and things like that. You can also look at the genders. I know kind of gender is a bit taboo nowadays, but, people identify as different things. And if you are aiming more towards like the gender fluid people, you can advertise towards them. It all depends on what your ideal client is, as well as, the familial status. married, divorce, common law. Every types of families have different needs, different concerns, as well as, the education level. Did they finish high school? Did they go to post-secondary? Are they, master's, doctorates type educated? And their income and their occupation. Because like we said, not all services is meant for all people. Some services could be for, the more high-end clientele. And then some of the other services are more for the general public, the lower income people, as well as, are you going to look at race to be an identifier for your ideal clients? This probably is more looked at depending on what kind of services you're looking at. For example, maybe if you're in a medical or like a holistic type things, different races might require different things. Or even if you're in the skincare, the beauty products, obviously I'm darker. I would require something different than like David with his lighter skin. So understanding, what your product is and how it affects.
So the lipstick that would work on me wouldn't work on you?
No, it probably wouldn't show up.
I'm glad
my red lipstick would be like a clown to you.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you straightened that up for me.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, no, or food. Like there's lots of different supermarkets. There's Canada is very multicultural, so depending on where you are and depending on if it's a product that you're sourcing or that you're importing, it may be more attractive to certain races over other races. But the point here is to take all these things into consideration for demographics. Mm-hmm. And then we're talking about geographic. So the first one was demographics. Now, geographic is location, obviously. Geo there, right? So it's where do they live, right? It's not even just what city they live in, what part of the city they live in, or even what is around them. Where do they work? Do they work close to their home? Do they commute for an hour and a half? Like those are things to consider. And where do they vacation? Do they have a cottage? Do they have a trailer? Are they snowbirds? Do they just travel the world? Do abroad traveling and so on? Or in recreation, do they play tennis? Do they play golf? Do they do recreational soccer? Like all these types of things is important in the geographic side of things because where do they go for that, right? Mm-hmm. And then the third is the psychographic or behavioral. So what things should we be looking at for that?
So before I kind of deep dive into that one, I kind of want to add upon what you were saying. Gosh, David, you keep moving on so fast. So I know some of the demographic, was that the one we just did, demographic? Geographic. Some of the geographic ones might not seem like, logical things to have for your ideal clients. But in reality, like, for example, the recreational things, you might not think like, oh, it doesn't matter what they do outside of office hours. I'm not trying to sell to them at that time. But in reality, that makes up their personality. Your favorite sports makes up who you are, and potentially your buying decisions. So that's why, like, okay, I'm gonna go American now for a second. That's why AT&T,
the imported accountant, shows up here.
What is it? What's TELUS? There we go. There's a phone company for you. TELUS. That's why, those big companies, Bell, that's why they advertise in those hockey stations and those baseball stadiums. Like, they know that you're probably not thinking about your phone bill, your internet, while you're sitting at that baseball game, I guess hockey game here in Canada. While you're sitting at the hockey game, cheering on your favorite team and watching them fight, you're not really thinking about your internet. But when you go home and you're thinking about those memories and you're like, oh, my internet really sucks right now, you will, like, subconsciously be seeing those advertisements. And that's why it's important to understand, kind of that deeper, who your client is, a bit deeper outside of kind of the work environment that you sell.
Right, and just to build on what Maria was saying there, like if your competition doesn't take this in consideration, this is a prime opportunity for you to reach out to your potential prospects in an environment where your competition will not be.
Yep. So now to the.
Hold on, let's rewind. So let's talk about the psychographic and behavioral aspects of target market.
Talked a little bit about this. I guess it all merges together, anyways. So one of them being, like I said, their personality types, their sports define who they are. Are they an extrovert? Are they introverted? And what are their buying habits? Do they kind of just buy things on a whim? Do they really study out each product before they buy something? And does their lifestyle allow them to buy things on a whim or to buy things like large purchases at once? Or is their lifestyle a bit more, paycheck to paycheck where they have to pay things in installments or a little at a time? What are they interested in? What are their opinions? Obviously, political opinions can sometimes divide people and businesses. So, like, are you willing to have an open mind, open opinion, and that's how your clients are as well? Are they just open to new things? Understand how they are. That way, if something comes up and you guys are, getting some random conversation, that you guys aren't going to clash and you're not going to ruin that client relationship and that potential referral relationship as well. What's their attitudes? Are they normally happy-go-lucky people, or are they a bit more by the book, business only, between 9 to 5, fun after 5 o'clock? What is their kind of their beliefs, their values? Where do they see themselves in 5-10 years? What's their hierarchy of importance? So me and my husband talk about this a lot, mainly when we're joking around. Is I'm like, okay, what do you love the most in your life, dear husband? And he's like, number 1, pupusas. Number 2, my comic books. Number 3 is me. I'm like, well, I'm glad I made it into the top 3. So kind of in a joking way, but serious as well. Like, what are the top 3 to 5 things that your clients value, and how can you utilize that to help them know that you care about those things as well, and you want to help them in their life that way.
Right, and once you've got all 3 of those sections figured out, write them down. The age, where they live, what's the job, personality types, and all that. Now you've got all the information that you need to start figuring out what that message should be. That's why it's important, right? One of the clients that I work with, they actually came up with a name. They call it, it's a her. They call them Sam. Her name's Sam, and she's got a whole personality type. I had her to read it out to me the other day, and it took about 5 minutes for her to tell me the life story of Sam. But you don't have to get that in depth. But the point there is, if you can kind of get inside their head, if you could be the marketing profiler, right? Oh, I like that.
It's a profile.
That's something maybe we should be marketing. A marketing profiler. But
not a criminal or profile or anything like that. Yeah.
No, but the point here is that if you get inside the head of your ideal prospects, you have a better chance of understanding how to talk to them and how to position the message to them so they can understand what you have to offer.
For sure. And so you must be able to, get in their head, and once you do that, you're able to, get in the conversation that's happening in their head. What was their thought process? What are they saying to themselves? Because when we decide to buy something, usually we don't buy on an impulse. We have a conversation with ourselves, saying like, "Oh, do I really want this one, or do I want this other one at this other store?" You want to be able to squeeze right in the midst of it and be like, "Okay, well, you have these options, but you should go with mine because of X, Y, Z." These are the reasons I'm a better fit than this other person. Once you understand, you can address the different questions that's going on in their head, and you're able to answer them kind of in a timely manner. They might see your advertisement, or they might see a post on Facebook, and they won't be thinking about it until maybe a week or a month down the road, and they'll be asking themselves, okay, I want to buy this thing. And they're like, oh yeah, I remember I saw this ad on Facebook where, they were selling this product that I wanted. and then they'll, now that you kind of got in their head, you kind of become an earworm in their head. They'll go to your Facebook page, for example, and see like, oh, they have this product. Oh, they have all these other products too that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want these other things as well. Right.
And very good there with the getting inside their head. And there's usually two main things when it comes to a specific, if it's the landscape again or lawn maintenance, there's a problem that they have and they don't want it. That's what's going on in their head. They've got long grass and they don't want to cut it, right? And then there's a solution that they want, but they don't have. They want a nice manicured lawn, but they don't have that right now. And the problem is that the grass is too long and doesn't look very good, but they don't really want to deal with that. They don't have time for that. And the solution that they want is a nice manicured lawn, and they don't have that yet. So those are the conversation that's going on in their head. I have a problem and I don't want it, and there's a solution out there that I don't have. And why that is super important is because now you're able to go, as we said, we're already inside their minds because we've already identified what your target market really looks like. And now we know what their main problem is, right? It's the lawn, it's unruly, it's got some weeds in it, it's not trimmed properly, I don't have time to do it. So, but also it depends on the exact demographic. So the pain point, the main problem the main problem is that the grass doesn't look proper. But the pain point for them is that it makes them look bad. Mm-hmm. They're in a neighborhood where there's other manicured lawns and they don't feel like they're keeping up with the air quote Joneses. And that's their sort of main point. I don't look, my lawn, my property doesn't look as good as I want it to. So that's the problem that they have, right? And then you got to think about, well, what's the second and third order of consequences of that, right? So it's like, okay, well, if my lawn doesn't look right, my neighbors might think that I'm not in the same league as them, or pardon me?
Whispers. People
Whispers.
start whispering.
Exactly, right? Or my parents come by and they look at the property and they go, oh, you're not doing your work. Those are second or third order of consequences. So these are things that you've got to be thinking about. But the key there is now that you know what their main problem is that they don't want, now you can offer a solution that solves that problem for them. So now you're starting to figure out, how do I create that message? Well, you need to know what their main problem is first, and then you can start crafting a message that speaks directly to that main problem. And then knowing the second and third order of consequences actually allows you to generate more revenue, because now you've got bundling, upsell, and cross-sell opportunities, because now you know the other stuff that bothers them in that situation.
Yep. So you might think that, there's only one problem, one solution type thing, but there are, secondary, third different, tertiary, that's the word. It's a big word for me. There's multiple sub-problems to that main problem. And sometimes people think that those sub-problems are actually, the main problem. That's why you need to get in their head, talk to them, have that conversation saying, okay, your in-laws are judging you because you don't mow your lawn. Well, what's the real reason? Well, it's because, I'm lazy and I just don't feel like mowing the lawn every, couple of days because it's so much work and I don't feel like using a push mower. And so, you're like, okay, well, we can get you on a subscription plan where we'll come in every week or so. We'll cut everything. We'll weed everything. Your lawn's going to look beautiful. And then that will help, your relationship with your in-laws.
Right. And, that's obviously one area to go down as far as the second or third order of consequences. But another area to be thinking about for that is, well, if I want my lawn to look like my neighbor's, I know that he's semi-retired, so he's spending 15 hours a week to maintain his property. I don't have 15 hours that week. So, but if I want to try to be there, maybe I sacrifice and I put 7 hours into it. So now that's 7 hours I need to I have to say no to other areas of my life. So maybe golf is one of the things that helps me relax and helps me build business relationships. So now you have to start giving up your golf to start making sure that your lawn looks good. Or maybe you're sacrificing family time. Or maybe you have a cottage that, you know what, if you go away to the cottage, then your property doesn't get, the lawn doesn't get cut because you're not there to do it. So these other second, third, fourth order consequences that you've got to be considering that can help you, and not only help you maybe with the bundling, but with the messaging. Mm-hmm. Because if they do have a cottage, then maybe that's part of what is part of your message to them. Enjoy the not being able to enjoy the cottage because you have to cut grass all day. Very simplified, watered down version of what we're saying. I mean, that's a good way to get their attention. If I have a cottage and I don't go there as often because I'm cutting grass, that first message is going to speak to me. Yes, I don't want to be cutting grass. I want to be at the cottage.
Yep. And so this kind of goes along. So we kind of been really focusing on, who your ideal client is so we know how to sell to them. But this also works with any potential joint ventures or bundle package with other people, other businesses. Once you know who your ideal client is, you can be the one reaching out to other businesses to create a joint venture saying like, okay, this is my ideal client. Your ideal client is very similar or the same as mine. So let's work together. Let's figure out a way to, help both our businesses grow since we're servicing the same people.
Right, and knowing who they're using, like if they are going to a golf club, right? I don't know if there's an opportunity to work with the golf club there, or maybe it's a tennis club, or maybe it's the local barber shop, this higher end barber shop. That could be a potential joint venture for you, even with lawn cutting, because you're servicing the exact same target market, right? If it's a higher end barber shop that offers you scotch tasting nights and craft beer while you go, then those are the types of people that are willing to spend money on the luxurious items to help them with their lifestyle. This goes back to the demographics. If you don't know your prospects or your ideal target market, then you don't know what areas to focus on.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen. Well, there we go. That's awesome. Well, hopefully this was helpful. You can always reach out to us, to your fs@matrix.com. That's where we reside online. Check us out on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram,
Twitter,
all those fun things. We're out there on all of them. If you have any questions, or if you disagree, or you think do you have a joke that you think I should tell, please send it to us, and I will get it on air as soon as I can.
Yep. And small announcement for everybody following us here that we will be releasing soon a little course, a little class that goes over and helps you identify your ideal market, as well as how to market to them and other aspects, how to grow other aspects of your business. So keep an eye out on our website for that big announcement to be made soon. You've heard it here first from me. And as well, we have events that come up every now and then. Currently, if you're listening at the time of release, we have, I'm doing a workshop on how you can maximize your personal and business tax credits. And David is doing one that deep dives more into, your marketing and other aspects of your business. So check out our website and our Facebook page for those events and the details there. And if you're listening afterwards, keep an eye there as well, because we are always, posting new events throughout the year.
Yep, and we want to give back to the community, so most of those events will be at no charge, so we can help clients, get a jump start.
Mm-hmm. And we are here for you, so like, share, subscribe, and let us know if you have any questions, and you will hear us, and we will see you next time.
All right, until next time.
Bye.
Oh, wait. No. Success
Record scratch.
is easier than you think. You just have to ask us.
Just ask.